This is an interview with members of the Hughes family. We hope you enjoy it.
Okay, I'm Verlee Hughes Peterson. I'm the oldest of 12 children of Verde and Wesley Hughes. This is my brother Art, who's just younger than I am, Arthur LaVale, and my sister Verde Marie, and Dot. And and this is my sister-in-law Sharon, Art's wife. And we grew up in Mesquite. And
what year did they move into the house?
we moved into the house in 1952, I think. And, well, we may have been 53 or 4. We lived in Aunt Tho's old house for a year before Mom and Dad bought the house for $10,000. And it was a wonderful, wonderful place for 12 children. The only bad thing about that house was that it only had one bathroom the whole time we lived in it. But you know what? There was a service station across the street, and it saved our lives. Because when we couldn't get into the bathroom, we ran to the service station. We had talked about the fact that we didn't think we'd ever had a shower without having to bathe the baby along with us, you know. Didn't ever have a private shower, and you never could lock the bathroom door when you got in the shower. You told them to wait, you jumped in the shower, unlocked the door, jumped in the shower, and then whoever needed to come in would come in. And the bathroom was always being shared. It was never a real private thing.
I can remember when we moved into the house, as you went in the front entrance, there was just a little triangle-shaped entryway hallway there, and it had doors going off to right or left. One went into the big living room, and the one to the left went into a bedroom. The bedroom had a exit into a long hallway. The living room I think had originally been 2 rooms maybe, and they took the wall out, and eventually they took the one wall out on the hallway, so that now when you go in the entrance you go right into the living room. That little hallway isn't there anymore. And the house had been remodeled by someone before Mom and Dad bought it. Somebody bought it from the church, I guess, and built it as a living space. And they had made bedrooms out of what probably were classrooms. I lived in the house for, I think, 13 or 15 years or something like that. And I've never seen that supposed baptismal font that's supposed to be in that back bedroom.
I have.
It's wonderful.
I don't remember the year, but I know that at one point Dad and I built a quilt cupboard. The closet for the middle bedroom on the right jutted out into the room, so there was this corner that stuck out in the living room, and they just had a flat top, and so we went up and boarded it in and put a little door on it so we could store quilts and stuff up in the top of that.
Now see, I didn't know you did that, so I learned something too today.
I don't remember what year it was that they put the fireplace in, but I distinctly remember the men coming and cutting a hole in the wall and tearing up the floor and pouring the foundation and building the fireplace. Before that, I think there was a stinky wood stove that they used to heat the house with. It never did have electric heat or any other kind of heat, actually, except for just wood burning or coal burning stoves, until my uncle put a little wall heater, electric wall heater, down in the kitchen for Mom, because she was always complaining of being cold, or maybe not. Anyway, he had that heater put in there.
Which uncle?
as her brother, Lorik Washburn.
Oh,
And then again, I don't remember the years, but I remember that the dad contracted with a company that came around and said, we want to shingle your house with aluminum shingles and put aluminum siding on it. And we'll use it as a showcase where people can come and look, and we'll give you a big discount on the job if you'll let us do that. And so that's when they put the siding that's on there now and the aluminum shingles on the top. At some point after that, and then again, I don't remember the year, and it might have been after I left because I wasn't involved in the project, but they built that little porch on out the back door and put a step there.
okay.
When we first moved into that home, like he said, we didn't really have any heating, but there was a little stove in that front bedroom. And so we actually lived in that front bedroom, which was our living quarters, for, I don't know, a year or part of a year, because they had the piano in the big front room, and remember we'd have to bundle up, put our coats on to go in and practice on the piano, because that room was just cold, because it didn't have any heat in it at all. So for the first little while, we lived in that front little room to the left.
And of course, cold is relative. After leaving Green River and moving to Utah, cold is a different definition now than what it was in Mesquite.
What were holidays like in that home and in Mesquite?
Well, anytime you have family around, holidays are gonna be great.
We always had to have the tallest Christmas tree.
Yeah.
We'd go up to Bunkerville Mountains, we'd get our tags and go up and cut down the huge tree that we'd have to bring home, and then cut 4 or 5 feet off the bottom because it was too tall. And that, that has tall ceilings in it, so you can imagine. And a lot of times we had to tie the tree up to the wall. It was so huge that it wouldn't, to keep it from falling down. And
What memories do you have of your grandparents coming over to the house?
our grandparents didn't come to our house much. We always went to their home and had all kinds of festive things there. At Thanksgiving time, everybody gathered, all our cousins and aunts and uncles, and they'd set out tables on the lawn.
I think one year they said they fed over 300 people.
Well, tell me about one of your older grandparents, uncles, aunts that you remember.
My mother's mother and her sisters would come to visit us there, but I honestly don't ever remember my grandpa and grandma Hughes in that house. I have no memory of them ever being there. I'm sure they were, I just don't have a memory of it. But like Verlee said, they didn't come very often because we always went to their place.
Did you ever have your dad as a teacher?
Oh, yeah.
You didn't?
I did.
Oh, you
He
lucked out.
retired right before I got to college. Very
We all
thankful.
did.
Yeah, we did.
She's my wife, so she wasn't raised in the home.
Yep. And he was mean with us. I'd ask him at home, oh, help me with, I can't do that, you've got to do just like everybody else. I can't. He was a good teacher. I enjoyed having him as a teacher.
He was not only my teacher, he was also my coach, and he was one of my very best friends.
Okay, a little story perhaps many of you about coming here to the hospital.
Oh, Marie has a good story about coming here to the hospital.
Well, I don't remember it. I don't ever remember coming to the hospital.
She
So
came
you better tell me.
She came to the hospital and they gave her penicillin.
I don't know.
What did they give? Anyway, she went into whatever that word is, shock.
Anaphylactic.
Anaphylactic. Anyway, so then they had to give her something else to bring her out of that.
I didn't know.
I don't remember what it was that.
I can remember coming here several times and Bertha giving me shots or stitches, but I can't ever tell you any specific occasion when that took place. But I do remember being in here.
Didn't you bring Tommy down here when he got those cactus in from riding that motorcycle?
No, we took him to a different clinic. This wasn't
Oh, okay.
Now, and who is he?
my son.
Oh,
he was riding a motorcycle and hit a cactus and got in his knuckle joint, and they had to take him out.
But one time we were at home, Mom and Dad were gone, probably on a ball trip or something, and we were playing out back, and a board fell down from that was holding up the clothesline and hit Art on top of the head, and a nail hit him and cut his head, and he would just, you know, head wounds are terrible anyway, and he was just bleeding. So we brought him down to Bertha, and she fixed him up good. We thought for sure he was gonna die. We were.
I've got a scar on my chin that she stitched up, but I don't remember the details of it.
Yeah.
So what did y'all do for fun when you were kids?
Marbles, rubbers,
We
hide and
We
seek.
played a lot of basketball.
Kick the can.
Actually, working on at the dairy farm, at the Hughes brothers dairy farm, we didn't have a lot of time for fun. That took up a lot of time. Spent quite a bit of time when we had time in the ditch swimming at the old Charlo Hole or up the sand gates.
Oh, another question, we were curious about your mother's background in education or college training. Did she have any background?
My mother graduated with what they call that, a normal something. Anyway, she taught school for a couple of years before her and Dad were married.
Was that
In-
near
in-
near here?
No, it was in
Yeah,
Blanding.
Blanding, Utah.
Okay.
And
She
where
went
she
to
grew
school
up.
in Dixie.
And she taught after they were married, and taught, I think, until after Art was born. So she taught, she was still teaching when I was born, and I think when Art was born, then she quit teaching. So her background is also elementary education.
I was curious, we had a
Yeah.
question.
Guess that's why we all migrated towards education. One thing about the baptismal font in the home, of course, as you know, it was the old Relief Society house, but it was also the baptismal font. Before that, they just baptized them in the river, the ditch, or, you know. And some of the people that were baptized there tell about how they didn't even have the walls up. You know, when some of them were baptized, they just had the font. And when we moved in there was a big lid that covered the font that you could take up or, you know, put down. And the floor just was so squeaky, and it was so scary. And we were terrified of that. And I was so afraid to put my feet down off the bed onto the floor. I just knew that a monster was going to reach up through that font and grab my legs and pull me in.
Well, what was in that area? Did you have furniture there, or what's
It's a bedroom.
It was a bedroom.
was a bedroom?
Yes.
And you can still lift up half the floor, and the font's under it to this day.
Yeah, it's just, and for several years they used it for a storage for grain. They stored grain, big
Wheat.
buckets of wheat down in.
Food storage.
In fact, we had to empty it when we sold the house. We had to take all of those buckets and barrels of wheat out of there.
Did any of you go to school and have an Edith Knight as a teacher?
I'm sure, I
did.
I did.
I didn't. I was.
I think she taught third grade.
Any memories of her?
She's a good teacher. I remember that much.
And she was old.
She was old.
When we remember her, you know, and yet she taught school for years and years after that. But and she was a good lady.
Well, as we get to the wrap-up part, I'm just wanting each of you just say something that you recall about what good things about growing up in Mesquite. What was good about
Well, I
it?
think it was a great place to grow up. There was no crime to speak of. There was no vice to speak of. The things that you see in Mesquite now, the gambling, all that kind of stuff, it didn't exist. There were no casinos. A couple of the cafes had I think there were two different places that might have had slot machines in, and that was the extent of it. There just wasn't any gaming at all in Mesquite at the time. And lots of fun, wholesome activities. The the social life in the wintertime centered around the school, and in the summertime, just whatever fun you could make, but hardly ever was anybody in trouble or causing trouble. Just a good, clean place to grow up and to raise a family.
And we used to wander. You know, we'd walk all over town and walk to Bunkerville and walk up in the hills.
The
you know,
Garrett Trail that's not there anymore.
Yeah, the sand dunes and the pinnacle and you know, all those things that no longer are there, and spend hours just, and nobody worried about you, you know.
Do you remember anything about the Pinnacle?
No, but how long ago? I used to, he was on a mission for 2 years, so I used to come visit his family.
65 is when I met you.
Yeah, so
Didn't
and I
call it
love that
65.
house and that yard, and my kids love that house and that yard. It has lots and lots of memories in it.
You spent Christmases there?
And sometimes we come down for Christmas. Yeah.
Wall-to-wall beds.
Oh yeah, it was just like lined up like a
We made-
dormitory.
We made several attempts to landscape the front of the yard. Mom always wanted a grass in the front, and there just wasn't enough water to make it work. It just didn't.
And too many kids to trounce
Yeah,
down.
it just
so.
it never happened. When the old Elwood Theater was next door on the south side of the house, we had I planted some bamboo one year, and we had basically a fence or a hedgerow of bamboo shoots that were 12 or 15 feet tall. It kind of gave us a little bit of privacy there, and there might still be some of that bamboo in the backyard.
There is.
It's still growing.
Oh.
And we used to have fig trees and pomegranate trees planted around the yard. I don't know if they're still there or not. I have no idea. I know that we claimed more property than actually belonged to the family. At least we made use of it.
You want to tell us about any memories you have?
No, it was just a great place to live.
No, it was the baby, and so she
Spent a
lived
lot
there.
of time in the house alone without everybody else.
She was spoiled.
She actually lived there longer than any of the rest of us did.
Oh, okay.
We just had good times, you know, a big family, and we acted like a family. We had our moments, but most of the time we just enjoyed being together, and we still do.
Yeah, we do.
And we just have and we were musicians. We sang, and piano players and instruments, and you know, so there was just lots of commotion and fun and excitement going on.
Was there a favorite song you all sang?
Love at
Love
home.
at home.
One winter, Mom made a little spot in the corner of the front room, and it had some boards, probably 2x4s or something, and walled off, fenced off of this little area, and then brought in a whole bunch of sand and had a little sand pile there in the corner of the house that the kids could play in during the, you know, it was just a fun. And we had a swamp cooler, so the house was hot, and in the summer, we'd all come up and lay on the linoleum because it was cooler. And so there'd just be people laying all over the front room on the linoleum, you know.
Tell them what you did the last night before you moved out of the house for good after it was sold.
What did we do the
I'll
last
have
Bald?
a sleepover.
Yeah, we did. We had a sleepover.
All the sisters
All
came
the
and had a
sisters got
sleepover.
together, all the girls.
I
Yeah.
slept in the living room, had a sleepover, bawled all night. Told about the
And
memories
laughed and talked and then bawled when we had to shut the door.
of the last time.
Lots and lots of good memories.
Well, I am sure glad you all gathered here today, and we thank you for just adding to our museum's heritage.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
You're welcome.